Hello everyone, greetings from Cancun, Mexico. My name is Svetlana Mucha and I'm the leading matchmaker and dating coach at Diolli.com, and I'm attending a Matchmaking Alliance conference. And as you can see, I'm not alone in this video. You have been asking for a male perspective for many times, and today I'm going to give you a very male and a very professional perspective. I have Dan Silverman with me, and he's a professional dating coach. He operates in Miami, United States, and right now you're expanding, right? You will cover the whole country.
Yeah, in Austin as well.
So today you were speaking about the problem of so-called invisible nice guys.
Yes, that's what they are.
I can relate to it because from time to time we tend to work with so-called nice guys. First of all, can you define a nice guy?
Sure. A nice guy is a guy who feels he has to be nice to be liked. So we talked about this a little earlier. You said, well, women should pick kind guys who are nice, but the nice guy feels he has to be nice, and he's trying to seek validation from the woman, and typically a nice guy will put a woman on a pedestal above him. Women are fundamentally not attracted to men that do that. Maybe there are like 2 or 3 that may, but most women want a guy that they can look up to, not look down at. And so the nice guy feels he has to be nice in order to try to win the woman over, but that's not really how it works. I was talking about bad boys and how they don't need validation from women. That's why they're exciting, because the woman actually has to win the guy over rather than the woman trying to win the rather than the man trying to work I can't think straight right now. Rather than the man trying to win over the woman. It's a much better dynamic because that builds a lot of attraction.
It is interesting. I have been coaching women. I have written 3 books about smart love, choosing smart love, and building mature, smart relationship. And of course, I try to educate women, to inspire them to choose kind men who treat them right. But I see this pattern that not only women tend to choose so-called macho men who are not nice guys, but men sometimes also fall for women who are not really kind or really sweet or really relationship-minded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the reason why that happens is because attraction isn't a choice. And attraction, like the way we feel attraction, is not necessarily going to make us happy in the long run. Attraction is there not to make you happy, but to make you breed with what your body or your genetics perceive as the best possible sexual option. It's for survival and reproduction. It's not for your long-term psychological health. All right, so it's much more about the short term. And so what makes somebody really sexually attractive is oftentimes not really compatible for like a long-term relationship. So for example, stability. Nice guys have that in spades. They're very stable guys, but they're stable because they don't have a whole lot of options. So you know that guy's not going to be running around on you. And yeah, you could say the same thing about a woman who's extremely attractive. She may develop a lot of personality traits that are not conducive to a long-term relationship because she's never really had to, because a woman who's extremely attractive, I'm not saying all of it, but many of the time a woman who's very attractive hasn't had to be a nice person or to be nurturing or to be a sweet woman. She's never had to because men are always fawning over her. So it's like you're trying to find that balance. I think what's really good is to find that balance between someone that you are attracted to. It doesn't need to be the person that you are the most attracted to, but somebody who has the closest to similar values that you have, who have personality traits and character traits that are good for a relationship that you're still attracted to. And that person is probably not going to be the person you've been the most attracted to in your entire life. Usually the person you're going to be the most attracted to in your entire life is probably the most toxic person that you've ever met.
It's interesting because attraction, it's built of so many layers, and very often people confuse like so-called lust at the first sight with love at the first sight. And also what I have noticed that you said it today during your speech, that first date should be fun. It shouldn't be about finding a meaningful connection within first 30 minutes. I have noticed that many so-called nice guys, they actually try to find very strong physical attraction and very deep emotional connection right on the first date. And what you have mentioned, a validation that she can choose him back. So like so many goals, so much pressure for the first date instead of enjoying the first date and actually to try to be likable. Lots of pressure. can you give some basic tips for so-called nice guy and gentlemen in general?
Sure. So whenever we're talking about strategy, everything starts from the frame. It starts from the mindset that you have when you're going in. So if you have the correct frame or an effective frame mentality going in, you're going to naturally do a lot of the right things. So what bad boys and the guys that do really well with women, when they go on dates, the reason why they're so successful, the opposite of a nice guy, is because they go in there thinking that this is just totally casual, this is just a fun time, I want to see where this goes, I don't really have any expectations of anything serious, God forbid, right? And so they go in there with this lighthearted, casual sort of vibe, and they're attracted to the woman, and they allow the woman to know that they're attracted to him, so they create sexual tension. Whereas the nice guy, this might be the first date he's been on, where he maybe really likes this girl and it's been a while, and so he's going to take it super serious, and he really badly wants the woman to like him. If a woman senses that, it turns her off. The nice guy does, or the bad boy doesn't need the woman's validation in the first place. He just wants to see if this woman's fun. In fact, he wants to see if this is a woman that he wants to see again, rather than the other way around, which is a very different dynamic. You're going to naturally do a lot of the right things. You're going to be more likely to tease, more likely to have fun and be playful. You're more likely going to flirt. You're not going to be nervous. You're just going to do a lot of things that are going to make you come across as naturally confident.
Well, it's interesting because on the other hand, it's a natural desire to be liked. We all want to be liked, and of course, when our clients go out on dates, I try to encourage them, both men and women, not only to look if you like the other person, but also to be likable, because the other party has to choose you back. It doesn't make much sense if, for example, you like a woman or you like a man, but the feeling is not mutual, then it doesn't make much sense. So isn't it okay to want some sort of validation, to be encouraged by a woman to court her?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point there. So this is how I would sort of preface this. There's a difference between wanting someone's validation and needing someone's validation. So it's like, you might want some validation, like if a bad boy is going on a date with a woman, I mean, yeah, he wants her to like him, but it's not the end of the world if she doesn't. That's fine. There's like 20 other women he can go on a date with, because a bad boy naturally has abundance with women. He knows he can replace her very quickly, which sounds kind of messed up, but that's why bad boys treat women in that way. Whereas the nice guy, he's very unlikely going to get a date, especially with a beautiful woman, in a very long time. He has more of a scarcity mentality. He needs the validation of that woman, and he's not going to feel confident escalating things, like kissing her, touching her, or making things more intense, flirting. He's going to be less likely to do that because he's afraid to mess things up. He doesn't want to take risks. So yeah, I mean, it's healthy to want the validation from somebody, but you don't need it in order to have a good date. It's okay. You can take it or leave it. You're out there. Let's see if we can have some fun. Let's see if I like her. Let's see if she likes me. Let's see if we vibe really well. It's very casual. And now look, sometimes on a first date, it might get to a point where things get really deep. And that's cool. If it naturally goes in that direction, great. But you don't have to do that. You're actually more likely to get very, very deep when the two of you can really relax and just enjoy each other's company and just have fun with each other. Almost like it's playtime. Dating and game in general is supposed to be fun. That's why they call it game to begin with. So if you're playing the game right, it should be fun. You shouldn't be worrying so much about whether the person likes you or not. You should be worrying about having fun and making sure this is somebody that you actually want to see again.
Today we were talking a lot about teaching guys how to flirt. And
yeah.
As a matchmaker who work with gentlemen, as paying clients who hire me to get them the dates, because very often men tell that, okay, I just need the dates. I don't need dating coaching. Just bring me the right woman who will like me, and this will be it. I can teach, of course, guys some tricks, like, for example, bringing flowers that she will like, or teaching them the right compliments, how often to compliment, especially if we are talking about a Slavic Ukrainian woman. Compliments, flowers, all this is very important. I can teach them some storytelling, some questions that can help them break the ice. But still, what I see, so many men and some women, they lack these flirting skills. They don't know how to flirt. And therefore the dates, they don't feel like dates. I remember we were working with this gentleman, a young professional in his late 20s, and he told me, like, Svetlana, I did everything you said. I brought her flowers. I told her compliments twice. I have shared 2 stories, And still she has refused to go out with me on the date number 3, and the girl has actually given him 2 dates. And the feedback from the lady was that yes, he was sweet at the very beginning, but I had to do all the talking. Like 2 dates, I had to literally entertain him. And he was listening to me very attentively, he has asked a few questions, and this was it. So how do you teach your clients to be more flirty, to master the skill?
All right, there was a lot that you said there, so there's a lot to unpack there. So let's talk about the first thing that you were speaking about, giving them flowers and being chivalrous, giving the right compliments and things like that. I think it's really fascinating how there's such a difference between like United States culture and Eastern Europe, because the chivalry thing, yeah, I've heard the same thing. It's really important to do that over there. I'm not familiar because I haven't been there before, but in America, you don't show up with flowers on a date.
Yes,
like women will find that really creepy.
When in Rome, do as Romans
right,
do.
but and that's the normal thing in that culture, then I totally understand doing that. However, in any culture, giving flowers or paying a polite compliment, being chivalrous, that's all comfort building. And I was talking about that in my speech. Comfort is very different from attraction. Flowers is not going to build attraction. It's not going to be arousing. Being polite and courteous and chivalrous is not arousing. It makes a woman feel comfortable. That doesn't make them feel attraction. It's important to make them feel comfortable, but there's another aspect of it. You have comfort, but you also have attraction. And that's the thing. That's why she wasn't feeling very much, is because that's not going to create desire. There are other things that create desire outside of that. That will make her feel comfortable. The second part of your question is they don't flirt, they think that they can do it, they feel they don't need it. That's the difference between matchmaking clients and dating coaching clients. Dating coaching clients come to us, they know they have a problem and they want to fix it, whereas a lot of matchmaking clients don't realize that there's a reason why they need a matchmaker. There's a reason why they're still single and they weren't able to do it on their own. Usually matchmaking clients do need some kind of coaching, and that's where we come in to help out. So the third thing I wanted to discuss as well, you were telling me that like they need some of the help with like carrying on conversation. I felt like I had to do all these things. Big trait of a nice guy is he's very passive. This is a completely different topic about masculine and feminine energy.
He can be a chatterbox. He can talk the whole date, sharing some stories that are not very flirty or not very romantic, or asking questions.
That's right. Yeah,
so,
that's right.
Being passive doesn't mean that you are silent the whole date. Because right now some people will listen to you and they will think that, okay, I can tell like 5 stories about my niece and nephews, about my grandma, or about my work. Once we had a guy who has tried to explain to a lady how to unlock the code, and he was a programmer. And a beautiful lady wearing a beautiful dress, sitting in the restaurant, candlelight dinner, and he tries to teach her like how to code in Python.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, but that's a whole nother story about not talking at all. So if the guy is a chatterbox, but he's not building attraction, that's a whole nother story. He doesn't know how to flirt. So let's see if I can really sort of lay this out flat in a very logical way, because you probably have a lot of guys who are very logical here. So all what flirting is a conversation that's, the premise of that conversation is if this continues, it's going to become a romantic relationship, a sexual relationship, whatever you call it. It's the way you would speak to somebody that you're attracted to. It's not the way you'd speak to your mother or your boss or like, your cousins or your nephews. It's the way you'd speak to a woman that you are attracted to, that you're on a date with, and then you can help her come into that frame as well. You're creating a dynamic where there's sexual tension going on. So a lot of flirting it's basically pushing and pulling a validation. So you imagine there's like a scale between 0 to 10. 0 is completely uninterested in the woman, you have 0 interest at all. 10 being like you're wrapped around the woman's finger. Somebody who's really good at the game is very good at oscillating inside of that scale, up and down, depending on how the date's going. The nice guy is just going to give nothing but compliments usually. That's usually their game, is they just give compliment after compliment after compliment, and they supplicate and put her on a pedestal, and that's very boring for women. It's not stimulating. He's easily won over. Whereas guys who are really good at it, they're willing to tease, they're willing to disqualify, they're willing to disagree and make a joke out of it, make fun with it. So it's fun where you're able to give compliments. Because for me personally, I actually compliment even more than most nice guys. But unlike the nice guys, I also tease relentlessly. I mean, I mess with any woman I'm going to date with relentlessly. That's my style. But I'm able to do that because it's with warmth, it's with lightheartedness. And so guys need to learn how to tease and get under their skin, play with them, and have a good time. You know what I mean? So for example, if I ask where you're from, I say, well, where are you from?
I'm from Ukraine.
Oh boy, Ukraine, most beautiful women in the world, and also the biggest heartbreakers. So something like that, that would be called a push and pull. So the first thing that I said to her is, "Oh, the most beautiful women in the world." That's flattering. That's a compliment. That's a way of flirting. You're showing some interest. But then I'm also pushing her away by saying, "Oh, you're all heartbreakers." I'm just assuming that they're all heartbreakers, so I have to watch out for her. I'm almost creating an obstacle, like this is a boundary between us, and I'm placing up an obstacle in front of her that will prevent us from getting together. But the really unique thing about that is, even though I say, "Oh, you're a heartbreaker," that assumes that I'm interested in her. I wouldn't say that to a boss. I wouldn't say that to my sister. That is only something I would say to a woman that I'm interested in. And it's a fun way to flirt and show interest without sucking up to her and putting her on a pedestal. So you essentially have two ways of flirting. You have the push and you have the pull.
It's same with the compliments. There are some safe compliments that you can tell to your grandmother, to your friend, to someone you have just met. Tell them that I really love your earrings, or "Oh, your English is really good." Okay, you can tell this to the employee, to the waitresses, but you can't tell the waitresses, or you can't tell your grandmother that you have beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah,
or you
that's a
look
very
lovely
brilliant observation.
in this dress. So there are safe compliments, and they are flirty compliments.
And then they're flirty compliments, right.
And you have to make them. Also, if we are talking about international dating, you have to understand that different rules can apply. For example, if you're speaking about Ukraine, if you're not bringing flowers on the first date, the lady can think that, okay, you're not very thoughtful, it is just a casual date for you. Probably you're a player because you didn't bother to bring her flowers. Flowers can turn an ordinary dinner or lunch date or coffee date into a date, because it was just a dinner and he brought flowers. Then people around can see that this is not a business meeting. You have flowers.
Yeah.
And also flowers can be flirty and then can be safe. For example, if you go to your cousin's wife's birthday, you can bring red roses. And they are considered like standard classy flowers. You can present them to a school teacher of a child. But if you go out with a woman you like, you feel interested, romantically interested, you will bring her flirty flowers. Something pink, or if she is a younger girl, maybe white flowers too. A lady over 40, I would avoid white flowers. She can think that they are a little bit wedding-like, but there are like many tricks. Also, like with the jokes, where are you from? Sometimes men can play this foreigner card really well. For example, let's assume a gentleman is in the bar, let's assume in Kiev, of course, when it is safe in Kiev, and he is meeting a lady. Instead of telling her like, "Hi, you're beautiful, all Ukrainian women are beautiful," he can ask her to recommend him a really Ukrainian drink. She will start thinking, what is a Ukrainian drink? A cocktail, like a Ukrainian cocktail, vodka, either a Ukrainian cocktail. They can start a conversation. But again, you have to be very confident to pull it off, because if you don't feel confident, if you will approach a woman who represents another culture, who speaks another language, being a foreigner not necessarily will be an advantage. If you turn it into an advantage, if you put some romance there, it can work.
If I go to Ukraine and I want to pick up Ukrainian women, I'm definitely watching more of your videos, because you seem to know your stuff.
Can you give some more tips? Because today when you were talking about tips you're sharing with a gentleman, I was like nodding all the time, because working with some nice guys, and most of, like all our clients are nice, and of course we all come with our own backstories, with some insecurities, and you were sharing such an interesting point when gentlemen ask question after question, and they jump from topic to topic. I have seen lots of it, because usually we encourage our clients, of course, to ask questions, because sometimes after the date the lady tells that he hasn't asked me a single question, he doesn't know where I work.
Right.
Like, we have been talking for 2 hours and he hasn't asked about that. But then there is another reality, when gentleman starts asking question after question. Can you tell more about this mistake and how to avoid it?
Sure, that's called interview style game. So you have like interview mode during the date. All that is when the guy is asking a question, and then she answers, then he asks another question, then she answers. So for example, so where are you from originally?
Ukraine.
Okay, cool. What city are you from?
Kharkov.
Oh yeah, what do you do there?
I'm a matchmaker.
Oh, all right. How long have you been in Kharkov now for?
Oh,
is this your whole life?
My whole life.
Right, so it's like question after question after question. I'm not really relating to it. It's just an exchange of facts. And particularly for women, they don't feel attraction or comfort based on exchanging of facts. They like to exchange feelings. They like to know how it feels. They want to hear your responses to things. So you are going to want to make statements and respond, and also maybe make cold reads or do some flirtatious things like teasing or compliments based upon what they say. So I may say, where are you from?
Ukraine.
Great. What can we say about Ukraine, right? Instead of me just asking her a whole nother question, maybe I say, oh, I've always wanted to visit Ukraine. I hear it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I hear the food is great. I might say that because that's a way I can respond, especially if I mean it. I'm not going to say it if I don't actually mean it. Or maybe if I've been to Ukraine, I might say, oh, Kiev was such a beautiful city. I want to go back there. I was there maybe about 3 months ago. I may say something like that. And go into the story to talk about it, and then see how she can relate to it, and be like, where's the best restaurant in Ukraine? And then maybe she'll say, where's the best restaurant in Ukraine, right?
Yeah, or I will ask, where have you been to Kiev? What have you seen there?
Yeah.
Why have you been to Kiev?
I can tell a story about that. And then it could be, it's too bad I didn't meet you before that. It would have been very nice to explore the city with you. Yeah. And now I'm flirting with her. That's a pull, right? So I'm taking a boring question where I'm asking her where she's from, and I'm turning it into a flirtation. And I'm also sharing a story about myself where she can get to kind of know me, that I'm traveled and I know a bit about her culture.
So flirt is kind of international from what we have learned with you.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's universal. Yeah.
Can you give some bad examples of poor flirt?
Yeah, anything that's really crass and crude. Typically women don't like it when you treat them like a piece of meat. So you don't want to say something about body parts. It's a little difficult to do that. I suppose you could say maybe about eyes, or skin or something like that. But if you talk about maybe her butt or her boobs or something like that, that's probably a little bit excessive. You really only get away with that with a woman that you already have a lot of comfort built with. You can say that, but not on a first date. I really don't recommend that. Another improper way to flirt too is if you're doing it so safely that she really doesn't realize that you're interested. And you were talking about this a little earlier. It's like there are the safe compliments, but then there are the flirty compliments. Remember that flirtation, what I said before, flirtation is the premise that this conversation, if it continues, will turn into a sexual or romantic relationship. If it's not clear enough, then it's not good enough flirting. So for example, when you were saying, oh, that's really cool that you speak so many different languages, that's not necessarily showing very much interest. It's very safe and mild. So instead what I might say is, I love a woman that can speak lots of languages so she can talk with me. Right? Now
implementing languages, it's always a good idea because you had to work hard to learn the language, and usually we are proud of such things. So it's a nice compliment, but still it's a safe compliment.
It's a safe compliment, but I'm just demonstrating here though that that's something I like in a woman. That means I'm letting her know right there in a very grounded sense that I like a woman. I'm attracted to a woman that can speak languages with me. I like that she can, and maybe I'll even start speaking those languages with her and start flirting with her in those different languages, like, oh, very nice eyes, maybe in Spanish or whatever the different languages. And now you're playing back and forth and having fun with each other. And that's very attractive.
Yes, having fun on the date is crucial. Actually, it is important to keep in mind where you are dating, which background your date has. Because if we're talking about Eastern Europe, like in Ukraine, for a lady, during the date, it will be very important to understand that you find her attractive. Because usually women put lots of effort into looking good for the date. In our culture, she can buy like the whole new outfit, special dress, shoes, matching purse, like do her hair, and she will make it look like it all came effortless, just to go out on a date. And she can invest into it like half of her salary, but if you will ask her to split the bill for coffee, she will feel morbidly offended. It's a cultural thing. So just try to imagine that she has invested all this effort into looking good, and during the date she hasn't heard that you find her beautiful, or you like her dress, or you like her hair. God forbid you will tell her that you like her hair better on her pictures. Is it similar or different in the US?
It's totally universal. Anytime a woman puts a lot of effort into making you happy or impressing you, you absolutely want to acknowledge that. Anything that gets complimented, you're going to see more of that, and women want to feel like the effort they put in was worth it. Just being appreciated. The same way like when a guy pays for a date, All he really wants is to hear a thank you. And a lot of women don't even say that. They're like entitled to it. It's the same thing. A woman is looking gorgeous for you. You can tell she's put in a lot of effort to look beautiful for you. Absolutely reward her for that behavior by complimenting her. You'd be dumb not to, because then she's going to put in a lot less effort. Or even worse, she's going to feel unappreciated and you won't see her anymore.
Okay, let's create a little takeaway for guys. Can you give 3 main dating tips, universal dating tips that will work in any culture?
In any culture, okay. Almost all feminine women, in fact, I might even say all feminine women, like masculine men. So when you're on a date, I think in any culture, it's always better to take the lead, make the decisions, be the leader, guide, plan the dates, and don't wait on her to make any decisions. Most of the time women want the guy to make the decision, and if she doesn't like the decision, she'll usually let you know, and then you can improvise and do something else. But don't wait on her to be the lead. Always be the lead with any of your dates. Guide them to where you want to go. When you're pulling out the chair, you let them sit down. You're the one that guides everything as the man, and that's also why you pay for the date, typically in most cultures, is because
I can add that it is important not to confuse leading the date and being pushy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a good nuance right there. Being pushy means you're forcing a woman to do something. You don't want to make a woman uncomfortable. So if you're leading and you're making her uncomfortable, that's when you're making it pushy. You have to be very cognizant about how she's feeling in the moment. If she's enjoying what you're doing, then continue doing what you're doing. If she's not enjoying what you're doing, then you need to change things up and stop being so pushy and just relax and enjoy the moment and don't try to push anything on her.
So the first tip, to lead.
To lead. Yes, to lead and not be pushy, obviously. Okay. The second one is she absolutely must know that you have sexual interest in her, sexual romantic interest in her by the end of the first date. If all you've done, the whole conversation, is get to know each other and exchange facts, you will not get a second date unless she is very, very good at convincing the woman that, hey, give him a second chance. You don't want to make her work a lot harder, okay? That's your job on the date as a guy, is you need to flirt. At any point that you want, you can always make it romantic. You can easily interrupt her while she's talking if you haven't flirted with her yet and you can't think of anything. You just say, you look so beautiful when you speak. Or you say, you look so beautiful when you say all these smart things. I like listening to you. You just say something like that. It's totally random, but it gets the message across. I am interested in you. And finally, let's see, a third one that's really, really important. Don't be afraid to take risks. In order to escalate things and take things from complete strangers to a romantic relationship, there are steps along the way that are like a path to get there, and that's up to you to make those moves. And it's almost all entirely the man's responsibility to take things to the next level. Like you said, you don't want to be pushy, but you do want to find opportunities to escalate things. So if you find opportunities to hold her hand when you're walking across the street, go ahead and try. If she's not comfortable with it and won't let you do it, then don't do it. You can easily let go and don't try again for a long time, but you have to try. Yes, you might risk making her uncomfortable by tapping her on the shoulder. If she gets uncomfortable, that's the risk that you take. But if you don't do things like that, if you don't attempt to escalate at some point, you will get friend zoned, or worse, you'll never see her again. It's up to you to do it. I mean, there's so much you could talk about with escalation, but I don't think we have time for that. Yeah.
I think these are fantastic tips. I can only add one very important point that I believe guys should also take as a takeaway. Dating and falling in love, it doesn't happen after one date. It's ridiculous to expect that you will meet one lady, you will see your future kids in her eyes and stuff like that. Dating, it is a process, and learning how to flirt, it's like building muscles.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy to expect that you will sign up for a gym, or better just buy that membership, and out of a sudden the six-pack will grow on you overnight. You will have to work for that. You will have to keep to a strict diet. Same with dating. You have to learn how to date, how to court a woman, how to flirt with a woman. And you will learn so much if you will meet different type of women, if you will go out on dates. It is a process. And of course, for gentlemen who haven't been dating for a while or like ever, which is more and more common nowadays with how hectic and busy life is, it's always a great idea to hire a dating coach, to talk to a professional psychologist, not just someone from Instagram, someone with a license. If we're talking about psychologists, if we're talking about dating coaches, also someone professional, someone who is not doing it as a side hobby. And it's not a crime to hire a matchmaker who will get you the dates. But again, a matchmaker or a dating coach, they won't do the work for you instead of you. They will help you get there, but you will have to take the steps. Guys, I hope it was helpful. I will leave Dan's contact details in the comments below this video, so that if you feel like you have a question to him, or if you want to ask more about his coaching programs, you can absolutely do that. And I encourage all nice guys not to be ashamed of being so-called nice guys, but to learn how to flirt and to use being nice and kind in your advantage. I want to wish everybody love. Greetings from Cancun, Mexico, from the Matchmaking Alliance Conference. Let's make a heart. Traditionally, we make a heart at the end of the video. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Пока-пока.